like I'm trying to warm up to what's going on here because I didn't expect it exactly, or maybe there's a lot of ideas here that are new for me. We're on number Yud Test down below on page Samach Bet. Page Samach Bet. So let's look at what it says. I wanted to look at something before that. I'm sorry. I think we did number Yud Aleph, but for my own sake, I wanted to see this. We were supposed to have learned some things in the Shaar Hakavanot on Shabbos. I don't think we ever saw that. So he, in the previous one, he had said, let me see where we would be. Let's see the second line on the top piece where it says, "Nekroim shivas hasarisim mishtarshim as pnei hamelech," and so he says, "Mishum she the mitzarasim garmaihu min azivug v'mehahol." Venim niftachim ala b'yotze b'Shabbos. They only open up at Yotze b'Shabbos. Kamoshi is bar be'ez Hashem, and I'd like to see more about that because I know very little about it. Down here on number Yud Aleph, he goes on to this. Einan niftachim ala b'yotze the Shabbos kamoshi is bar be'ez Hashem v'ayin sham. He says, and he says zecha v'loshen harab sham. This is the language they call the Bayer Inyan Elu hachecholos shel Yotzer. The Shachris, the Shabbos. That's what we're talking about now. Ma inyanim, what's playing over there, and he says ki sheva hechalos anir malzach b'besod Yotzer. He says that those 7 hechalos that we go over here, the meha chol the Shachris, heim sheva hechalos zer anpin de bria. Okay, uvechem nechlalim sheva hechalim de nuk, and also they go together, the Zachar and the nuk. He said, "Hanekroim Sheva Na'aros Esther," and these are called the 7 handmaidens of Esther. Now, why? He says, in other words, why? Because Esther, we said previously, was Malchus, that the Shechina going into exile at nighttime. So here, along with her, she goes into these hechalos, and the hechalos are her female accompaniment. I guess you would say that because they're receptive. Over Amnam biyom Shabbos, biyotzer the Shachris, niftachim shiva hechalim Elohim anikra hechalim the Shabbos, which are called now. I don't know the difference between lower ones and upper ones. Let's see what he says. He says, "Hem shiva hechle Abba ve'ima the bria. They're the hechalim of Abba ve'ima bria, and not Zachar v'nok." Baz Shiva Hechli Zer Anpin de Bria. So when that happens, and now he says they open up, and I'm not sure what opening up means either. So he said Baz Shiva Hechli Zer Anpin de Bria Olim. They go up when they open. When Abba Be'ima, he says, use the phrase they open up. B'nechlala b'sheva hechle Abba Ve'ima, because there's 7 hechelos over there too. So we were talking about the hechelos, the 7 of Zachar v'Nuk. And now we're talking about the hechelos of Abba and Ima, hamakablim misham tosefes kedusha, because of Shabbos Agam Shona. Let's go on now to number Yud Tes, Birchas Marav Aravim. So this took me by surprise also, because I didn't realize he was going to start going through this so fast. Let's just read it. So I guess I'll go down below, and it said V'ata Nevair. 1 second. So he says, the Aravis, the Nuk, the Bria, Maskil Levoyer as Sidron. Now he says the Hechelus Rachamim. I have a question about this. So at any rate, because he's going to name the Hechelus of Rachamim, and he's going to leave out Netzach. I'm not sure why. So here we're going to say like this: Hine beberchus marav aravim, he behechel livna sesaper. Okay, that's the lowest hechel. Shal anekeva kenizgar. V'noida ki ha'hechel zeb hu bebechinas yisod. Kenizgar b'tefilas yotzer the chakras. So he says, "Birchos marav aravim." So this phrase, "marav aravim," to make it's a lush in darkness. Who connected hechel livnas asaper denuk, the bria. So then the Gavani is saying that when you say marav aravim, then you know where you're standing over here in the Heichel Livnus Asaper, the Nook, the Bria. Now he's talking about the Nook, the Bria. The Heichel Zel B'chu B'chinas Yisod, the Nook. So he says this, he says straight out, this is the Yisod of Nook. The conviction is Boyer L'Gabech HaHeichel is the Shachris. He says Shachar Heichel Rishon Livnus Asaper, the first one, once again, who B'chinas Yisod. So over there too, Ella the Sham. Hakavanot, the Yisod, the Zer Anpen, the Bria, that in the morning it's Zer Anpen, in the evening it's the Nukva, Vakan Li Yisod HaNuk. And here it's talking about the Yisod of the Nuk. Now I'm looking for a number of Yud bases because I think there's something here we wanted to see. Up at the top, the phrase, just reading across the very top, it says, Inei Birchos Marav Aravim, He Behechel Livnus Asaper, Shal Hanekeva Kenizkar, Nizkar, and then he goes on this phrase v'noida. So I'm going to go down below and look at number Yud Bet, because this is a question that I think that I have. I think he's answering the question. So he says like this: v'noida ki ha'cheichel zeru hu b'bechinas yisod kenizkar v'tefilus yotze the chakras. So he says yesh l'tzayim as hamavur la'el. So he says of Adesh and dras tefilus ha'shachar. I guess we saw that. Yeah, we did. The Heichel Hazer Kol Bechinas Yisod Umalchus Ayachat. So the question is, so why does he say Yisod? And I know that we've seen, I probably in the Sifra D'Tzniut, but I'm not sure where there's a machlokos about this. Or some people say it's definitely Yisod, and some people say it's both. I thought that's what I remembered. Here we have it right here. He says that it only says Yisod. Amnam. He and then Malchus Amnam he and then Malchus the Olam Abriya. So he says it's not also including that. Shehi Yered is the Mata Ba'olam Yetzira, which goes down into the Olam Yetzira. Elahu Tarasi Yisod. So it's not that Malchus. It's not the Malchus that goes down, and this is really hard for me too. He says Elah is the Tarasi Yisod Shu Malchus the Dechura. Now I thought that the Malchus came from the Ataras Yisod. Now he's saying they're two different things. He says the tip of the Yisod of Zer Anpin, maybe we understand it, and I'm really looking for it. I would like to have more information on this, understand it better, that it was made out of the Ataras Yisod, that the Malchus are Malchus is Zachar V'Nuk, and that's made out of the Ataras Yisod. Here he says that they're actually separate. That the Ataras Yisod and the Malchus that we're talking about, that's the one that goes into the lower worlds, are distinct. V'nirmaz b'tevis livnus asaper, and you see this because you could see this idea of the tevis livnus asaper. Livnus is Malchus. Asaper is Yisod. So he said v'nimsa shebishas sheves hahechelos kololim as called as the spheros. So remember that they always have this. They always have all the 10 spheros. The Eichel livnus asaper kolo as Yisod umalchus. It actually has both of them. But Eichel kodesh kedoshim kolo keser chachma bina das. That was the way you made the number come out to 7. I understand that's an answer, but that's he's showing you that they already. When he says Yisod, I'm assuming that he means malchus also. Anyway. I'm not sure. I feel like I'm assuming. I'm not sure that I know what I'm talking about. Let's go on to number Kaf Aleph. Number Kaf Aleph says, here's a new idea, another idea. So that's nice. He says, so in this bracha, you got the idea of what's playing at livnus asaper. So where he makes a separation, being yom ubein laila. Now I say that the shefa down below had said that this difference. I forgot what I was going to say. Let's go on. The Bechinas Harakia Amavda Bein Mayim Lamayim. So this mystery that we're talking about, Benizbar Bezor, and the Zohar explains that like this: Shavrakia Hu Bechinas Yisod. So the idea of this place is an interface, Hu Mavdil Bein Mayim Lamayim, and it separates the two waters. Now, what are the two waters? Hainu Ben Mayim Dechurim, right? Lamayim Nukvin. In other words, the movement downwards is one side of it, and the moving upwards, which is an exact opposite, that's what Yisod does. Shacha Yisod mechaver miyached as a dachar al anuk, and so therefore he's giving us a definition of the word Rekia along the way. Let's go to number Kaf Bet. He said, because in that bracha, you're going to get this phrase also. So apparently it appears in all the Siddurim. He said, Hashem hu Yisod. So Hashem represents Yisod. That's Yud Ke Vav Ke. Hakol Netzach and Hod. But it also includes the partners on the sides, which are Netzach, the right leg, and the left leg, which are called the hosts. So he says now, Einanu maskirim bepratos as hechalos hanetzach v'hachod. We're not getting in. They're not mentioned here. Only Yisod is mentioned. So he says, and he says, and this is something else I want to question. He says because these are not hechalos arachmim. So, first of all, what does he call Heichelos Arachamim? So I'm going to ask a question later. Because what the reference here is to this one Heichel, which is the Livnus Asampe, which is the bottom. And we're talking about that. The Tzavakos, he is Netzach and Hod. That's his host. In other words, so to speak, his accompaniment. So basically, they're all riding together, so to speak, like that. And so there's also, in this name we see, there's a reference to Netzach and Hod. So then he says, Livnas Asapa Bechinas Netzach. So he says, Livnas, I said, is the Bechinas of Netzach. V'saper is the Bechinas of Hod. Okay? Now he goes on, and he says like this. So that was the end of that. That was the end. Now, I thought there was a little bit more I could have picked up, but maybe it's in the Shefa someplace. I don't know where it is. So let's go on. The Shefa here I'm using more because trying to get warmed up to this, and also some ideas to try to be helpful. The Birchas Avos Olam, that bracha. Now we come to the second bracha from nighttime. He behechel avecha de nukva de bria. He says, look at we're dealing at nighttime. He says we're working with the nook. I thought he said that in the daytime you're working with the zachar, but it includes the nook. I thought he said that, but there's a lot going on here. So he says that the nukva de bria. This is the part that I got confused about. So it was to say Yisod is Rachamim, and he also says that Ava, this Heichel Ava, which is he's going to explain where it is also Rachamim. Bracha Shnia Ava Zaylim, who behechel Ava who Chesed denuk the Bria. So this is a Chesed. So the Chesed, he says, it's like Ava. It's a nice thing. So Shnei Heichelos Ela the Yisod the Chesed Shneichem bebechinas Rachamim. This, so I was saying that if he said that Chesed is a Heichel of Rachamim, I thought, first when he said it, I thought it means that, well, if it's in the middle line is the line of Rachamim. It's pulling the two sides together. Over here, though, he says that Netzach is not included. So he said, because Netzach is not Rachamim. Whereas on the other hand, Chesed, which is also not in the middle line, is Rachamim. Why wouldn't Netzach be Rachamim? That's my question. So he says, V'shnei Heichelos Elu, the Yisod of Rachamim, Shneichem Bechinasam Rachamim, V'lechein Nizkaru Adar Bebracha La'atzmo. Okay, so that was my question about that. Okay, I didn't mark anything else that I wanted to look at down below right now. He says, let's go on. So he says, Aval Shaar HaChechelos Lo Nizkru Po will also not be mentioned here. Shaar ha'hechelu shehem hechel eschus, which is gevurim, hechel noiga, which is netzach, v'hechel etzem hashemayim, which is hod, lo nizkra bebirchos kriya shema. For these brachas that we're talking about for kriya shema, lefi shehem hechel yadin. So, like I said the same thing. He's telling me something about netzach. I don't really know that much about netzach, but he says that netzach is included in that. So therefore, that's where we highlight. What's he saying? He says we highlight Yesod, and we don't highlight these. Yesod is because an aspect of Rachamim, and we don't highlight these because they're not. And this time of din, and you don't want to make anything that has din in it, and that means that netzach in some way is a agent of din. I don't know. But let's go on. Kavanas yichud the kriya shema, the arvis, he mamish al derek ha-kriya shema, the shachris is exactly the same thing. But pasuk Rishon, the kriya shema, the arvis, the kavin ha-yichud on the asibo, v'hu zivug the abba ve'ima, which is a yichud that takes place between abba ve'ima. So he said al derek ha-zivug and the asibo kriya shema, the shachris is really very similar. So he said v'gavarnis boyer sham. I already explained over there. Shlosha chalukim sheyesh beinehem. Now, I think it would be worthwhile to remember that, but let me read on. The three different differences, maybe I know it already. So he said, "Guvarnis bar sham shlosha chalukim sheyesh beinehem. Amnam yesh shlosha chalukim beim kriya shema v'diyotza the chakras. L'shel arvis ugavinis bar bedrash kriya shema the chakras." Huvakan b'shefach gavanos. Now, since I'm really not sure what he was talking about, I want to look at the shefach gavanos to try to understand. So he says, "Gavarnis boyer sham shloshi halukim sheyesh benehem." He says, "Hachilukim heim." He said, "Kafi in his bar b'sof the drush gimel the kriya shema." Okay, chiluk rishon be'inyan sedach hamshachas amochim who kolel. The first one, bebechinas amochen the katnas, hanimshach betevis Yisrael, the beshachris, mashki mochen the lamed mem the abba. Okay, I thought he was going to say something else. So he said the mochen of the top part of abba come down, over arvis mochen the tzadi the abba. So it only comes in so far. Number two. Number base, if you're talking about what's going up at that time in the mochin, we're talking about thought, we're talking about mochin the kadnas, betevis echad, the b'shachris olam mochin the lamed mem the abba. Those are the mochin the abba mem the abba that are going on. But arvis tzadi the abba. That's another chiluk. That's chiluk sheni. So this is a chiluk sheni. That was base. Okay, let's go another one. Chiluk sheni. Here's a third difference. Be'inyan hamshachas tipas hamochim the godless. Behechan heim nimshachim. Okay, that's what I thought I was going to say before. That b'shachris nimshachim bekitzonius atik, which is extremely high place. Of arvid bekitzonius arich. Chiluk hashlishi. This is the third one. He says. Shlishi be'inyan hazivugim anaasim b'koach hamshachos the kriya shema. So these be'inyan the zivugim that take place as a result of that. The b'shakris who's zivug the Yaakov Rachel of arvis zivug the Yaakov Leah. So that we're going to see about that, or maybe we will. So he has more to be said about that. So that's the third one, is the place where the yichud takes place, or the participants in the yichud that takes place, and their location. Now he says, I think we're at this place. I'm not sure, but I think this is it. So he says, "Rikavanas ramach tevos who sod ramach evari zer anpin the tzilus." Notice he says in Tzilus, "Sheyardin the matach of mitzdarim behechel avach the nukva," and they go all the way down. I think we talk about nighttime. This dog says nukva behechel avach the nukva the zer anpin the bria. Al derek mashrin is boyer behechel avach the dechura the zah that we said over there previously. The bria, the Yotze, the Shachris. So here it's going to be about the Nukva. I'm just still trying to piece this together in my brains. So here, let's look at the light print now. He said, "V'kavin she'al yedech v'ramach tevos the kriya shema, mesaktin amamshichin ha'ara b'ramach evari zer anpin de chatzilus." We're bringing what the ha'ara ba in the ramach evari zer onto the tzilus, sheyored l'choyer behechel ha'ava the olam abriya, which is now going down there. Of a confession is boyer legabe kriya shema the chakras, ala the b'chakras na'atzi b'chol behechel ba'ava the zer anpin de briya. Uke'ez ba'arvis, but now when we talk about nighttime, na'asa kain behechel la'ava the nuk, we did the same thing happening in the hechel av of the nukva de briya. The confession is boyer la'el the b'chakras seder chatikunim na'asa behechelos zer anpin. We've seen that before. Let's go on to number Kaf Ches. I just really didn't prepare anything other than this, so we'll keep going on in it. Emes v'amuna. Let's take the next phrase that now you said the Kriya Shema, you got the 248 came in and so on and so forth. Emes v'amuna chuba behechel aratzo the nuk for the bria. So this is the hechel aratzo now in the nuk for the bria bracha shlishis, which is emes v'amuna. He behechel aratzo in the nuk. The Bria Shuhu Bechinas Teferis, when it takes place in the Teferis Heichel of the Nukva. V'lechein Sarak Lomer Emes V'amuna, so therefore you need to say these phrases. Why? Ki Amuna Him Midas Lailam. Amuna is a concept of Tefillah or Malchus, and it's nighttime. Ava B'yom Sarak Lahasgir Midas Yom, there you have to mention that. V'lechein Ana Oimrim Emes V'yatziv. So he says, Shuhu Be'echel Aratza D'Luchor D'Zad Debriya. So he says like this, Birchos Emes the Yatziv, that phrase, he says the chakras, the Birchos Emes the Muna, the Arvis. So he's putting them together, there's an Emes in each one. He says, Shnechem Be'echel Aratza the Briya, both of them take place in the Hechel Ratzon of Briya. So he said, V'shinui anusach, so then that's the case, why should there be a difference in it? So he says, Emes v'yatzi v'yom v'emes b'amuna b'laylo, hu machber shebeshachris, hu be'hechlos the zer anpen. And so therefore you're talking about v'yatzi, so he has a little note on this, I think, v'nikra emes, and it's called emes, it's the yatzi ditz of emes, v'gam yatzi yatziv, in Aramaic, hu emes ba'armid. So it's so he says it's the same thing. Emes, I guess. Ubalayla. Now when you come to the nighttime though, behechel is the nuk, the anikra is a muna, which is called. Those are the hechel is the nuk. That's called a muna. So that's it. That's it to share today. Thank you for learning with me.